Holla ballers and a bro fist to you all, and welcome once again to a slightly late starting drama time on a Friday afternoon live on Twitch. We do start at 4 p.m. on a Friday, but we were enraptured, or at least I was, in the prospect of defeating the 5th or 4th boss in Terraria, which has been a game I've been dying to play for like 12 years, and finally had some opportunity after Starfield didn't quite work out to jump in and play, and my god, I am immersed to the ends of the earth. I am absolutely immersed, but the Queen Bee and Skeleton Man are proving to be tough challenges. We're playing on Master Mode, preparing for an eventual hardcore run. But of course, I've never seen the game before, so we're doing the old full-blind investigation into it, and my god, is it immersive. There's a lot going on. We've been to the depths of hell, and into the frozen wastes, and all kinds of places, and I feel like we've scratched the surface of what awaits in the game. I feel like we've barely touched what's in there after 4 days of play, but an enjoyable experience nonetheless, as we prepare, of course, for Final Fantasy XIV's latest content patch, which is coming out very, very soon. We will not be, as always, make an announcement, we will not be playing the new patch on patch day, as it is an MSQ-based patch. We'll be waiting just a couple of days, let people get it sorted, then we'll be jumping in to enjoy it, to see what awaits us in preparation for Dawntrail. As this, the culmination of the journeys of certain characters. Again, you can't talk about FF14 in a show like this. It's not like I'm with the FF14 crowd who knows what's going on. There might be people who just started and you can't say anything. You've got to keep your mouth shut. That's the way it's got to be. You got to keep your mouth shut and not say anything, because God knows who might be listening. So yeah, spoilers Madge. Spoilers Madge. Well, I can tell you that in the next day or so, the latest YouTube video we've been working on will be coming to your eyes. I watched the rough edit of it this morning, and Chris is applying some polish, as well as some inclusions from very close friends of ours to go into it. It's been a wonderful little passion project, and we'll be moving on to our next one after that. So look forward to it. It will probably be feasting your eyes on YouTube very, very soon. It has been a while. Yeah, this one's been tough. I think we've been working on this one for like 3 weeks, which sounds like a really long time, but you consider that me and Chris have only really been able to work on YouTube on like Sundays. Me and Chris have given up last few Sundays in order to get stuff done. It's okay creating it and getting it ready, but the actual filming of it is a little awkward, especially when it's got some big scenes. So of course, we have got no studio. We're not working here. Chris is not in my ether. He is not in my area in order to provide things. He's not there. So unfortunate as it is, but that's the way it's going to be. But it's not right here right now. Look forward to that on YouTube itself. We are going to be diving into some tales here that Bex has sorted through. Thanks to you guys who send them into dramatime@preachgaming.com. Just email us your tales, because everybody has a story to tell. Every single one of you has something that has happened during your journey as an online gamer that is just that little bit off, that little bit strange. And this one is the Tales of the Social Officer. I honestly cannot imagine anything worse than being the social officer, because you're dealing with the people who don't really have any commitments whatsoever or goal other than to kind of be around. And often idle hands make for tricky situations. Let's put it that way. Tricky situations. I can't imagine anything worse. That's like worse than the raid leader, worse than the guild master, in my opinion, is being the social officer. People expect you to deal with their problems, and that's not always going to happen. So, there's all our names, our wonderful website supporters who are helping provide for the show. But we do look to our live audience here for a positive... Oh, this is impossible for our live audience. A positive, friendly guild name. A positive, friendly guild name. As always, if you wish to have your character as a part of Drama Time, it is our website supporters who do that. You can check that out on preachgaming.com. Friendly. The sunflowers. I like that. We'll go with the sunflowers. Yes, the sunflowers. Beautiful, happy, shining, glorious The Sunflowers. They sound awesome and I want to be a part of their team. They're so good. Such good people. All right, let's have a look. Hello, Preacher, Lady Bex, and the illustrious chat / salute to all of you. I've written you a story in the past, and even though your chat begged me never to write another... Oh, Bex, what is this? Your chat begged me never to write again. I decided to do it anyway. My previous story was called The Professional Male Boxer. And after listening to it again, after more than 3 years... So you wrote us a story 3 years ago. Okay. I do admit, I feel a little embarrassed about it. Okay. For those who remember that story, don't worry. I'm a different person now. Sideways winky face. Sideways winky face. Definitely changed. Definitely a different person now, guys. We have nothing to worry about. Everything's going to be wonderful and hunky-dory. Today's tale, however... takes us even further back. We are in World of Warcraft for this one. To the good old days of Legion. When Legion launched, me and a couple of my co-worker friends had such massive plans, such dreams, all these things of playing together. And honestly, we were all so happy and grateful to move on from the Warlords of Draenor. We decided to band together. Before this point, we had only ever talked about World of Warcraft on the work floor together, discussing the game and generally just being massive nerds. I'm pretty sure the other people at work gave us disapproving glares. Go fuck themselves, right? Anybody who's giving shit because you're talking about video games, ask them about who won the football in 1956 for Tottenham Hotspurs or some shit, and they'll tell you. Fucking geeks. Right? Fucking geeks. They're sat there talking about soccer or the NFL or fucking baseball or whatever for like 20 minutes with statistics and shit. And then they go at you, oh, what are you doing playing a game? Go fuck yourself. Seriously, you're a big fucking sports nerd. Nerd. Fucking geek. Shut the fuck up. But I digress. Legion was the perfect opportunity for us to come together as co-workers, as friends. We were going to be united under one banner. I've always been more of an Alliance enjoyer, but most of my co-workers wanted to play Horde, so Horde is what we're going to be. We chose a predominantly Horde-populated realm. Smart, didn't end up on a dead realm, and made our fresh characters. And of course, as so many do, we decided it was time to make our own guild. Now, I want to be clear with you guys. We're not aiming to be the best in the world. We're not going to be rivaling Liquid and Echo. We weren't that ambitious. We had all been living that pug life up until this point. None of us had seemingly ever been a part of any sort of organized guild. All our guilds up until this point had been a secondary trade chat, an extra green bit of text on my screen, but nothing that I was committed to or paying attention to their affairs. I had, of course, joined many, many guilds. They'd all either been guilds that I had tried to start and failed all by myself, or a multitude of everyday run-of-the-mill cesspool guilds. But this wasn't going to be that way, oh no. Not with my cohorts at my back, providing the foundation and support of IRL people. No, 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 no. We only had enough players to fill one 5-person group. So, we thought it would be a good idea to be a 5-person guild. Okay. I mean, that's just what we call a party, isn't it? When you think about it. That's just a party. It's not really a guild. But sure, it could be a guild. I mean, you're in a guild. You're in the same guild. So, we were so excited. Okay, let's not shit on it. All right, calm down. We're not going to shit on it. All right? They're really excited. They're going to play together. It's wholesome as fuck. So, whatever. We were all so excited and we got in. We bought ourselves a guild charter and without too much effort, we managed to snack a couple of SIGs in order to get us started and make our guild. Me being the edgelord I always had been, I decided to roll a new, exciting Demon Hunter, of course. I would be the tank. Oh. Okay. All right. I would be the tank for our merry little group. I didn't remember all the classes my co-workers roll, but I remember one of them rolling a resto druid, another one playing a mage, like I had done back in vanilla, something he liked to remind us at the time, because apparently, according to him, he was a really good mage back in vanilla. Hey, nobody presses Frostbolt like you do. Fucking class act. Absolute class act. You were really top shelf. Really, I'm so jelly. Like, the way you press that Frostbolt button. You know what's actually pretty cringe about my saying that, though, is if you watch how people play Classic now, it's like the most complicated NASA fucking space shit ever. Like, the sheer level of bullshit, especially the PvP guys put into fucking playing World of Warcraft Classic is fucking horrifying. It's actually horrifying. It really is. The min-maxing that has happened there is, like... It's scary. Watch any of the, like, I think I saw a Zico video yesterday where he dueled an elemental shaman at level 49 and it's like 9 minutes long and it's one of the most technical fucking plays and shit of all time. It's so nuts. Anyway, we played super casually during the early days of the expansion. We mostly did our own thing. I remember doing a lot of solo play, world quests, order hall campaign, achievement hunting, transmog, mount farming. You see, we had the perfect amount of members to do a dungeon with. But there was an issue. For the first 3 months of Legion, we were never online at the same time. You never checked this in your IRL conversations? This never came up. At any point when you were deciding to like make a guild and you were talking on that office floor of yours or wherever the fuck you were, at no point did any of you ask, what time do you play the game? I assume you all assumed it would be immediately after work, and that didn't turn out that way. Okay. So, even though we had our awesome 5-man guild, we all pugged, or were alone most of the time. I remember my friends would make fun of me for being the last person to receive a Legion Legendary. It took weeks for one to drop. When a Lego finally dropped for me, it was the shitty belt that apparently wasn't very good for me according to the internet, which only fueled the memes, of course. The Cindaria the Symbiote. Oh, what did that do? Cindaria the Symbiote. I thought it was going to be the shield. No, that was the necklace. What? Cindaria the Symbiote? What did that one do? For a Demon Hunter. It's for a Demon Hunter. Your attacks cause an additional 30% damage to enemies above 90% health and heal you. Oh, that was the best one, wasn't it? For DPS. Wasn't that BIS for Havoc Demon Hunters, if I remember right? Because they did so much damage during that pull. Yeah, I know he's a tank, but I think it was BIS for Havoc. Yeah, in Nighthold, yeah, I think it was BIS. Obviously, he's a tank, but I think for DPS they consider it. I remember, I bring it up because we almost kicked a Demon Hunter who actually ended up, I'm not going to throw him under the bus, he actually ended up in one of the top 5 guilds in the world. But at the time, we were doing a boss where the first, I will say it was Star Augur, where the first 10% didn't matter. And he didn't understand why we told him that legendary was bad. Because his response was, Icy Veins says it's BIS. And we were like, yeah, but nothing above 90% matters in this fight at all. It's all about what you do literally after 90% or 80% or whatever. And he was like, yeah, but this is BIS. Like, yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but like it's not BIS here. Do you understand that? Like the context of it doesn't matter. Anyway, eventually he did learn and did understand, and I think he came back the next day and was like, okay, I get what you guys were saying, because we forced him to like take it off. Anyway, now I'm sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this, our sorry little 5-person band of heroes never stepped foot into a raid. My first time I even saw Emerald Nightmare was during the Nighthold patch in a pug. Sometimes we would do group... Sometimes, though, after a few months, we managed to organise ourselves to do some dungeons. Aww. We might have had to pug some members, but well, at least 3 or 4 of us would turn up after a while. Sick. Sounds awesome. Unfortunately, it also turned out... Are you ready to be shocked again? It turned out we weren't very good. All the hype we had on that work floor, building into Legion, kind of resulted in us realizing that we were all pretty shit. When Return to Karazhan came out eventually, this became our raid, and we very much struggled to clear it. My Resto Druid friend in particular could not seem to grasp Repentance and Sacred Ground, where you had to make sure that you got to the dots so that you would break out of the stun. He pointed out that that makes no sense because the dot does damage. Why should we take extra damage? Oh. Yeah. I mean, you've got a point. You've got a point. You know, when you really break it down like that, you kind of got a point. Or maybe the damage is what stops you being stunned. It also combined with the fact that he wasn't very good at healing, so taking extra damage meant that people would die. Okay, that makes sense. I already can't heal this fight. I'm not going to take more damage. But, did you also consider it's very hard to heal people when you're stunned and can't play the game? Maybe that's also difficult. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. We'll have to see what happens. It was around this time that my co-worker friends started to drift away. They started logging in less and less, and eventually they disappeared. I kept playing on my own as I loved Legion. I was having the best time, but soon I realized that I'd been playing for 2 weeks and not one person had logged on in my whole guild except for me. Oh, that's lonely as fuck. Any minute now. Any minute now. Nope. Okay. I needed other people in my life. This was an MMO. I needed to play with other people. More than just randoms that I would never see again. I figured since my friends had all stopped playing anyway, I might as well give up and go back to the Alliance. I was craving a fresh start, a do-over, and I was tired of tanking pugs. I decided to roll myself a fresh gnome rogue, respect, on an RP, oh no, on an RP realm. Dude, that's despair. You went from potentially a raiding guild to a gnome rogue on a roleplay realm. That's fucked up. That's really dark. I don't like it. I had been there before, back during Cataclysm, and remembered that my time there was fond memories indeed. Now, Preacher, I want to be clear. I am not a role player. In fact, to this day, I have never taken part in roleplay. But, and this is still my opinion today, I like playing on the roleplay realms because there are people out and about in the world. It makes the world feel alive. So I started leveling my rogue. But as I started questing my way to level 110, that itch to play with other people still wasn't gone. Now, at this point, I was already an avid watcher of your channel. I've been watching your videos for years, including various guides, legacy videos, and I vividly remember leveling in WoD whilst listening to Drama Time. Hello. This is also when I had the nightmare about I thanked him story. Okay. So as an avid watcher of your videos, something you had recently started preaching suddenly came to mind. You had been encouraging your viewers to stop being in cesspool guilds. Yeah. Yeah, stop doing that. It's good advice to this day. It's actually, I can confidently say that's good advice until the human race becomes extinct. It's really good advice. Take your time. It's worth spending 4 or 5 hours, if not 10 or 20, finding a good guild than not and sitting in a Mythic Plus queue for 70 to 80 hours. That's a bad idea. Okay? It's well worth it. It's totally fine. I know you're excited. You've decided to join a guild. It's a big deal. But just take your time and you'll have a better time for it. In order to get the best experience out of WoW, one should join a guild with a goal, some level of organization. Instead of the way most people experience the game, on their own, stuck in terrible cesspool guilds, inviting the first invite that pops up on their screen or the first whisper they sent out in trade chat. And I'm not blaming you for what happens next. Oh, fuck you. I'm not saying organized guilds are drama-free. I'm not saying that. That's not my point. But you have a good chance of getting stuff done, right? There's a definite element that, yeah, There can always be... There's always going to be drama. My guild died. Alex killed my guild. Do you remember Alex? Terrible human being. Worst. Destroyed the whole guild. He did that. That's on him. I didn't do that. That was him. Sometimes you bump into just callous, vicious, selfish, narcissistic people like Alex who just kill your guild overnight. Although it was mainly Anders' fault, so we'll never forget that. Okay. Where were we? Because I'm not blaming you, Mike, because yes, there was drama, and honestly, there was quite a lot of it. But getting into organized raiding has been, and I want to be clear, the best thing I ever did for my personal enjoyment of this game. So I guess in the end, it was worth it. Namaste. But here we go. I was still leveling my rogue. I'm around level 43 at the time, but I decided it was time to start looking for a real guild, like Preach told me to. Stop saying that, motherfucker. Stop saying that. So, of course, I went to the only place I knew where to look. Trade chat. No! I very specifically said that that's not what you do, right? I'm not fucking being thrown under the bus. That is absolutely not on me. Like, fuck you. No way. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, and you're right. That's not where you wanted me to look. I should have probably gone and looked at WoW Progress or something. But I was young, and your videos are really long. You TikTok motherfucker. You TikTok zoomer-ass motherfucker. Can I fit it into a meme? Is that what I need to do with all my content? Is just fit it into a meme and that would be fine? Your story is fucking 17 pages front and back and I'm here, right? We're all here. Fucking adults over here, you TikTok bitch. Fucking get your shit together. I'm lying to you though. I was 22 at the time. And I was inexperienced. That's because I have the experience and I share it with you so you don't have to go through this. That's the whole point of the channel. That's the whole point. Is I suffer through this for 12 fucking years so I can tell you not to do that. You know what I mean? So while my rogue was chilling in the main city, I have no idea how long the story is, my eye fell upon a trade chat guild advertisement from a guild called the Sunflowers. And Preacher, it looked like everything I could have wished for. The Sunflowers was a semi-casual, relaxed raiding guild. Semi-casual, relaxed raiding guild. Semi-casual, relaxed. That's 12 red flags in one sentence. Okay. They raid only 2 days a week on a Thursday and a Sunday evening, and their focus is on ahead of the curve, but their primary focus is on having fun. That sounds like ball cancer. I am not going anywhere fucking near that. I am not going. This is what you took from my guides. This is what you took. Is like, that sounds like something Mike would recommend. That's what you got from my guides. I mustn't be able to speak. That's it. That's the only explanation. I, of course, whispered the advertiser immediately. The person who was recruiting in trade chat was a paladin named Elby. I have never ever applied to a real raiding guild before, so I was a touch nervous. But Elby, in his magnificent holy radiance, managed to reassure me and made me feel at ease about any doubts or insecurities I might have, because the guild's focus is on fun first and foremost. I told him about my predicament. About how I was new to this server. How I still wasn't even max level. How I had never been in a raiding guild before. But he told me that's exactly the kind of people we're looking for. Oh my God. Yeah. Sign me up, papi. Let me in. He said, no worries. We'll be happy to have you even as a social for the time being. He told me to take my time leveling, and that when I get to max level, he personally would be happy to see if he could find a spot on the raiding team so I could join in the fun as well. Okay. I then admitted I had little to none in terms of real raiding experience, apart from the occasional not very often successful pug raid, but the Sunflowers had a policy. And LB said he thinks this will reassure me. The policy was, inexperienced players were more than welcome to raid with them, as long as they were able to own up to mistakes, show a willingness to improve. Now, to me, this sounded like the perfect guild for me. I had been nervous about contacting a raiding guild and asking them if I could join. I had thought that real, proper raiders were very serious and kind of elitist. I wonder who could have given me that impression. It's not my fault that players are shit. I fucking worked hard for years to stop that exact thing happening. To make you better. Because there are a lot of shit players. Right? Even the president of Blizzard, Mike Ibarra himself, recently said that there's a get good issue. Right? Asmon Gold can't even clear a heroic raid. How sad's that? He's been playing for like 26 years. Right? His fucking hair's falling out. Everything's gone wrong. And he still can't clear a heroic raid. Right? And I'm trying to help. I was trying to help. Not anymore, though. But these people seemed so chill and so welcoming. There was one more issue, however. I was a student, and I still lived with my parents at the time. My parents knew about my gaming habits, but they didn't take my gaming seriously. No. There had been plenty of times in the past where I had gotten into fights with my parents because dinner was ready, and having family dinner together every day was important to them and a house rule. Yeah. I do that too. And I understand. I take gaming very seriously, and I do that as well, because you should know what time it is and that dinner's fucking coming. It's not that hard. It's really easy. But it had happened on occasion that I had misjudged how much time was left until dinner. Since were you 22 when this is going on? I'm just curious. Are you still 22 when this is happening? Is that this is going on? You're like, but Mom, I'm having dinner. Since we never really had dinner at a set time. Okay, so they have an alternating dinner time because their busy schedule taking care of you. I see. And it had happened several times that I was called down to have dinner with the family while I was playing League in Ranked. Playing Ranked League. After which I would try and, of course, buy more time. I'll be down soon and try to finish my match before joining them. This was unacceptable to my parents, and many a fight followed these occasions. I figured that if I wanted to raid with these seemingly amazing and super friendly, awesome people, I would have to commit, of course, to their raid schedule. But I didn't know if I would be able to. Because, and yes, despite being 22 years of age, house rules were everything to my parents, and eating dinner in my room or at a later time is unacceptable. I told Elby that I was worried I might not be able to fully commit to the guild's schedule of 2 days a week. Are you sure you want to be a raider? You can't commit. You're 22 and you can't commit to a Sunday and a Thursday in a casual guild. And I bet they can't raid for very long. If I end up joining their raid team, I won't be able to commit fully. And this is when LB informed me of a guild rank that would solve all my issues and was tailor-made for people in my position. Distinguished audience of Drama Time, this is where Grandmaster LB informed me of the magical backup raider rank. The Sunflowers employed a separate rank that fell between a trial and a core raider. The magical backup raider rank had a much lower attendance requirement, 50%, as opposed to core raiders 80%, with the trade-off being a slightly, ever so slightly, small, tiny, lower loot priority compared to those on the core team. There's another way of writing this rank, and it's called Pug. But, I mean, we'll call it Backup Raider if you want. We can call it that. But, I mean, there's another word for it, is all I'm saying. I agreed to join this miraculous, utopia-sounding guild. And I joined their Discord soon after, where I was greeted with so many warm welcomes and accepted as a member immediately. I was even given my class color as my Discord color and everything. It was so... I know it sounds funny, but the idea of class colors on Discord was novel to me, and I was amazed at the genius of the idea. What? They have colors, poggers. Even though now, I know it's not a big fucking deal. Yeah, every time since then, I have joined a guild Discord where the members don't have class colors. I'll be honest with you, Preach, I'm a little pissed off. I spent the entire rest of the day just talking to people in Discord. After literally months on my own in a dead graveyard guild, this was heaven. This was everything I was looking for. I made practically zero progress leveling my rogue, but I was having so much fun just talking in Discord as well. You are the most social of social members. I love it. You don't even play the game. You just hang out in Discord chit-chatting. I was sharing memes with them that they hadn't seen before, sharing our thoughts about the game, what we were looking forward to, how Legion was, the classes, legendaries, and so on. And we had so many puns. They had a separate Discord channel just for puns, and I spent a good few hours in there. It was glorious. That sounds gross. A pun Discord channel. The House of Puns. We need one of those. Instant mute server. I agree. Mute, delete, don't notify me. I remember waking up the next day and instantly just grabbed my phone and just logging into Discord to talk to my guildies some more. I really, and I'll be telling you the truth, I instantly felt a sense of belonging. Like this was my home. This is what I'd been looking for. I had been so lonely for so long, and now I was entrenched with so many different people, all chit-chatting and sharing their things they loved that I loved as well. While chatting though, I started to get educated, as the word was put to me. Educated is in speech marks here? Okay. It was apparently important that I understood a little about the guild's history. Okay, here comes the cult. Now, Preacher, as you can probably tell, the Sunflowers wasn't your ordinary run-of-the-mill raiding guild. They were special. They had a very rich history. Now, in brackets it says here, which in hindsight I realise now was a history with quite a bit of drama, and this should have been a red flag, XD. Okay. Here comes the education. We're all about to get educated. We're all about to get educated. XD. I was told that the Sunflowers was formed after the founders of the guild had a falling out with the leadership in a previous guild. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Now, I wasn't educated on the details of that drama, but what ended up happening is that the founders of the Sunflowers decided to leave that guild and make their own guild, which would be better and more friendly than the one they'd been in. Okay. Now, before I continue, I pose a question to the judge and jury. Gavels up, ladies and gentlemen. Raise your gavels to the sky. How many guild masters is too many guild masters? 2. There should be 1 guild master. Raid guilds are not a democracy, ever. Yeah, raid guilds are never a democracy. I have zero historical precedent for any raid guild that has been successful, that has been run as a democracy. There is somebody who has the final say. It's important. Now I ask you all to think about it for a second. they decided that in order for the Sunflowers to be most effective, that they were going to create the guild with 5 guild masters. Okay. We're going with 5. Okay. You heard that right. And I shit you not, the Sunflowers started out as a guild with 5 guild masters. I'm assuming the GM of their previous guild had been a particularly tyrannical dictator, but apparently they thought it would be a really good idea to have 5 people who are all equally in charge. We're going full commie here. Okay. A veritable GM council, if you will. Now, in case anyone in chat hears this and thinks, hey, this sounds like a pretty good idea, I might try this. Just to double check, is anybody here under the impression that this might be a good idea? I really hope not. If you have a sub icon next to your name and think this is a good idea, I don't know where you came from. Fuck you, Shalana. No, you don't. If anybody here thinks this is a good idea and might try this with my own guild, don't. Just kidding, chat. I know you're smarter than that and smarter than I was. But World of Warcraft doesn't have the option for guilds to even have multiple characters at the GM rank. At the end of the day, it was this really nice dude named Ritterstern who had the true and official GM rank. The other guild masters had officer ranks propped up with as many permissions as they were allowed. You might be thinking, there's no way a guild with 5 guild masters would work. And you would be right for thinking that. At the time I joined the Sunflowers, only 2 of the 5 remained. The 3 others had either left or been kicked, but nobody would tell me. I'm assuming that there was drama among the 5, not being able to come to a mutual understanding on something, perhaps about the direction of a guild, but nobody, and I mean nobody, would tell me why they had left. Only that they were gone, and apparently not on good terms. And also that one of these 3 ex-GMs had apparently become a cult leader or something. Ritterstern's nickname for her was Cult Bitch. Though sadly, they never told me the full story. Oh, I want to know about Cult Bitch. Boo! Boo to hiss. We want to know about the cult. Cult. We want to know. So, 2 remainders. Let me find out about it. Like I mentioned before, the first GM in person with the true GM rank is Ritterstern. A really chill guy from the UK who also happens to be the guild's main tank on A Vengeance Demon Hunter, and our raid leader. He had a way with words. He regularly blessed us with some casual and humorous poetry about the guild or a specific encounter or just whatever was going on at the time. He was a master of puns, which is why the channel had been made. Fuck that. I am not raiding under a raid leader who loves puns. Fuck that. I would rather ride down a fucking stair banister covered in razor blades than do that. He was always down for some banter, and he ended up being a person I looked up to. The second GM, Ritterstern's equal in leadership and right-hand man, was none other than Grandmaster Elby himself, the holy paladin that recruited me into the guild. He was from Parlez-vous Français, but Grandmaster Elby and I both shared a love for the English language, and we could nerd out together about linguistics and other things that would probably bore the hell out of most people. Grandmaster Elby had one of the most infectious laughs I've ever heard. You could practically hear the baguettes pouring out of his mouth when he giggled. And he also had a cat that would meow during raids, and we'd occasionally be able to hear the cat. I think she slept on his desk while he raided, and the guild had quickly dubbed her to be the raid cat. To round out the guild's leadership, there was a BM hunter called Fallible Fox. She was not a fellow guild master, but an actual officer and a core raider. Her duties as an officer, though, puzzled me. In her description within the guild, she had 2 jobs. One of them was to weigh in on general leadership decisions during officer meetings. Very acceptable. The other job that was listed for her was maintaining one of the guild bank tabs as a zoo. Now, I checked this bank tab and it was full of battle pets. But this pets tab had to be maintained completely full of battle pets at all times. If somebody took one which was free to use as the guild, it was up to Fallible Fox to replace the battle pet to ensure that the tab was always full. How this was some sort of officer duty was beyond me, but I suppose she needed access to the guild bank to work on this little project of hers, and I guess she needed to be an officer in order to be able to do that. Hey, social guild, semi-casual, relaxed guild, free battle pets. Count it. Number 1. The other person worth mentioning to our tale upcoming is General Lucifer, who was Ritterstern's girlfriend. Oh god, Bex, why is General Lucifer Ritterstern's girlfriend? That bodes well for how that character plays out for the remainder of the story, doesn't it? His girlfriend, General Lucifer. Do you not like this person, Bex? I wonder. She was a resto druid and a core raider for the team. I never got to know her that well, but she seemed like a nice person in general and always down for some bants. By the time I reached max level, Nighthold raiding had been going on for a while. But after some gearing up, I was allowed to raid with the raiding team. First as a trial, and then I was moved to that magical rank. Backup raider. Now, you've all probably waiting for the floor to collapse underneath me, but I have to tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. I loved raiding with this team. And I loved the fact that I was able to do it with such relaxed attendance requirements too. My loot priority was, of course, a smidgy bit lower than the core raiders, but by the time I joined, they already had all their gear. So a lot of gear came my way, and I got to speed with the rest of the team. We ended up defeating heroic Gul'dan, achieving ahead of the curve not long after I joined, and this was my first ever ahead of the curve achievement in my entire time of playing World of Warcraft. I never, ever knew that raiding could be this much fun. Not long after I joined the Sunflowers, I met 2 Dutchies by the names of Vix and Mine Croco, a couple who were guildless at the time. Vix was a priest healer, holy I think, and Croco was a rep paladin who was into the Scarlet Crusade roleplay. They were looking for a guild to raid in, and after befriending them in a dungeon run, I ended up recruiting them into the guild, and they eventually ended up joining the raid team. I became very active in the guild socially, always chatting in game and of course on Discord morning, noon and night, always ready to help anyone with whatever they needed. And being a student, and not a very good one, I had so much free time on my hands, so I was online or available practically 24/7. I had even told my parents about the raid schedule and about how I would like to be able to commit to that schedule, and asked them to see it was a scheduled team activity like my football practice that I used to go to back when I was younger. That's soccer for you Americans, by the way, not the hand-egg sports that you guys call football. To my surprise, it worked. They respected my choice. My parents loosened up a bit and I became able to make pretty much every single raid. Oh my god, you had an adult conversation. Hot damn! Hot damn! It may upset our live audience and everyone listening to this to remind them that soccer is the English word developed in England. Get Madge. We even ended up getting 3 bosses down on Mythic after getting Curve. Things could not have been better, my friends. It could not have been better. Eventually, I got asked to join the officer team. They were looking to institute a new rank, and given my activity within the guild, I seemed to be the perfect choice. Would I become social officer? Because Ritterstern and Grandmaster Elby liked me. They thought I was a good person. Thought I was a good fit to be an officer because of my high activity and friendliness with other guildies. And our values regarding the guild's casual, friendly, relaxed philosophy aligned perfectly well. This was all happening very quickly for me. I had gone from being on my own in a guild of IRL friends that never logged in for months at a time, and now an officer in a very active, very handsome, very wholesome guild. So I nervously accepted. I had tried to run my own little failure guild several times over the years, but I had never been in the leadership of an actual successful raiding guild before. I told Ritterston and Grandmaster Elby that I was nervous about being an officer because of me being inexperienced relatively. But they reassured me that it's going to be fine. And it's true that I had told them that I'd be happy to help in case they ever needed it. And they said they would support me in my upcoming duties. And because I liked this guild so much, I accepted the role. Becoming the social officer was my gateway into several instances of drama that I would probably not have had the insider scoop on if it wasn't for me being in that officer role. For example, we had this core raider, a Windwalker monk, who was generally just a cunt, for lack of a better description. He would always complain, constantly, every single raid, about not getting enough loot, constantly questioning the decisions of the leadership, acting entitled, generally underestimating and disrespecting the amount of time the GMs and officers actually put into the raiding guild, and when anybody would ever argue with him, he would link the DPS meter, which often included the trash. He would also constantly re-roll from his Windwalker main and expect the guild to boost him in M+, and help him gear up his new main because it was currently better in the meta. He would then abandon that again when a new meta rose up, or whichever Twitch streamer he was currently following. Smart. Smart. Undeniably, at one stage, he had just geared up his druid until he watched Gingy then play mage, and then told us that he had to swap to mage now. Druid was dead, and he had seen Gingy had ditched it in favor of mage. Well done, Gingy. You absolute piece of shit. Gingy did it. Is it really this guy's fault? Is it really? Fucking Gingy does it again. Wanker. We eventually stopped enabling him and helping him gear his alts, which of course also turned into something for him to bitch about how we were supposed to be a friendly, welcoming guild and we wouldn't even help fellow guildies run some dungeons, as he put it. We would regularly get complaints about him being unpleasant towards other guildies. He would throw bants at other people, but being able to take it when given back. Classic. We generally always had to stay on alert on Discord channels to see if he wasn't stirring shit up. And he was very good at stirring things up. We ended up learning that his IRL name was the same as Ritterstern's IRL name. So we would sometimes call him Ritterstern too. This pissed him off no end, as we apparently were dismissing him as being secondary to Rittenstern. I am nobody's number 2. But eventually, we ended up just calling him Steve, which pissed him off even more. I know that sounds rude because he obviously didn't like being called Steve, but trust me, Mike, he fucking deserved it. And it's not like we were actually bullying him or anything. It was his fucking name. To be fair, I think you should respect people who don't like their real life name being in the internet. I think that's okay. I personally don't like gamer names, but if someone's like, I prefer to be called my... I mean, I can't stop calling Lion. Even in real life, he's Lion. I don't like saying his real life name. He's Lion. I don't like it. Like, it depends on the person. Some people just seem to fit better. Like Boris. Boris is Boris. It's not, you know, it's the way it's got to be. It's the way it's got to be. Anyway, after becoming an officer and a core raider, I was now also expected to join the guild's official officer meetings. Now, I'll be honest, this made me feel so special. They took place directly after we were done raiding, and I'd always wondered what it was like for those people who would disappear off into a chat that was locked for the rest of us. The GMs and the officers would go into this officer voice chat, discuss the goings-on of the raid, as well as any guild matters that needed to be tended to. A lot of these conversations ended up being about people's behavior and whether we should do anything about that behavior and what kind of action we should take. Oh, I wonder who's going to have to deal with that. I wonder if there's any officer role that might be suited to being delegated all the problems that the other officers don't want to deal with after they've decided that it needs to be dealt with. I wonder who that could be. Yeah, what could we call that? One thing that really bothered me even after my first meeting, and something that really didn't help, was that Fallible Fox as an officer, would be expected to weigh in on the guild matters, but she refused to speak in voice chat. Now, I don't know whether this was because she didn't actually own a microphone, because I think that's easily fixed. But I do think it wasn't because she wasn't a girl, but I think it was a matter of her refusing outright. It's her right, I suppose. She shouldn't be forced to speak on voice if she's not comfortable with it. But it did make officer meetings needlessly arduous and tiresome. Ritterstern, LB, and I would be discussing things on voice, and Fox would be, in the meantime, typing along in the officer text box in-game. It was kind of fucking painful for everyone involved, as she would reply almost 30 to 40 seconds later, following the sentence we had just discussed. It was hard for Fox to try and keep up, trying to finish a message on what she thinks before Ritterstern, LB, and I would inevitably move on to a different topic, which just happens during a natural conversation. And it was painful for us too, because we built in a system in order to be welcoming and wholesome, where we would say a sentence and then we would all pause to see if she had anything to say. If she didn't have anything to say, she would just type the letter N. I mean, and, yeah, you guys can type N every time you haven't got anything to say. That would be fantastic for my Twitch chat metrics. Wow, your chat is surprisingly active. It really is. Because even if you're a lurker and you're playing a game on another screen, I need you to build a macro that just constantly presses N so I know when you guys are good to carry on. Okay. Joyfully, this managed to work itself out because she quit the game. Yes. At some point between Nighthold and Tomb. It was around this time that our first little piece of real, actual drama occurred, involving Ritterstern's girlfriend, General Lucifer. What a surprise, Bex, that General Lucifer made a reappearance. General Lucifer, the Resto Druid, and Vix, the Holy Priest, and Mycroco, the Ret Paladin, Vix's boyfriend. Oh, General Lucifer trying to nosh on that Ret Pally cock? She knew that Lego was coming sooner or later. At some point, about a week or two before Tomb of Sargeras released, when we were still farming Heroic Nighthold and trying our best to kill Bridge Boy Croesus on Mythic, we had a little bit of a kerfuffle regarding Mycroco's Blessing of Wisdom. Oh my god. For those who don't know, Blessing of Wisdom was a pally buff that can be placed on one party or raid member at a time. The buff gives the target increased mana regen in combat, so naturally, this was a much coveted buff for the healers. And of course, with Vix being Mycroco's girlfriend, she default got the buff. What's worse? This is worse than PI. There's nothing worse than healers speaking. Like, I can't fucking stand it. Like, we give you... Healers should have their own chat where they talk about shit. Right? Because, other than that, healers should just shut the fuck up and get on with the job. The healers are talking. You're wasting my time. Right? If we're not dead, what the fuck have you got to contribute to this conversation? That's all. And then when we die, it's your fucking fault and you should have dealt with it. This is why you don't get any loot in progression raiding. You don't get it. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I did like that in, as an anecdote, in Bald, Fat and Ugly, the healers led by Furbo started a revolt and they started protesting. They all re-rolled to goblins and they started fucking protesting in a line. I think Crusher was in there as well. They were all just fucking rotating around the raid in a line. They formed like a picket line. Bitching about something. But again, it was healers, so I wasn't listening. I really have no idea what they were bitching about, but they were bitching about something, but I mean, I can't fucking hear it. It just turns into, it's just noise, you know, when the healers are talking. Whatever, mana something, shields, some shit like that. Whatever. Anyway, and of course, with Vix being Mycroco's girlfriend, he would put the buff on her by default. First of all, fuck you. To be clear, I do play a healer a lot of times. Now, it turns out that during one of our last Nighthold, I'm sorry for disrupting the story, but I could just imagine someone in their car listening to this on Spotify who's like a dedicated hardcore healer getting like really pissed off. Like, fuck fuck you. Anyway, he turns up to work all like fucking angry and shit. What happened? Nothing. Healers have a voice. We matter. We matter. Okay. Now, it turns out that during one of our latest Nighthawk raids, General Lucifer was having mana issues, while Vix was sitting pretty at really high, almost full mana. Ritterstern, our raid leader, asked, "Hey, Kroko, can you swap Wisdom onto Lucifer? She's having mana issues." No, I can't do that. No. No. Kroko and Vix disagreed with this raid decision. Kroko straight up refused to give that buff to General Lucifer. He claimed it was a waste of his buff because, according to him, General Lucifer dies a lot. Fair point. Vix then voiced up that because Kroko is her boyfriend, she deserves the buff. And I'll be honest with you, the way she came across during this conversation, it gave us all the impression that if Kroko was to give the buff to Lucifer, it would imply that Lucifer is a better healer and prettier than she was. And she felt it was insulting to not only her, but her skills as a healer. Fellas, is it cheating to buff other girls? Fellas, is it cheating to buff other girls? Yeah. Obviously, only if you get caught. I saw you with her, giving her wisdom, and you gave her hand of protection. That's my hand. It got so bad that we had to drag both Vix and Kroko, as well as Lucifer, into officer voice chat after the raid, where more accusations followed. They claimed that this buff situation was a 3-on-1 attack against his girlfriend. Ritterstern, Elby, and Lucifer all pled that this is just to make it easier on the raid. She doesn't need the mana, and I do, said Lucifer. Taking the buff away from Vix is not a personal attack or reflective of her skill as a healer in general or any personal features. Now, it turns out, and I was fresh to this conversation, that this conversation had actually been going on for behind the scenes for weeks already. Lucifer had simply already whispered Kroko for the buff during fights, like a normal human being would. And instead of even replying to her, Kroko had just ignored her. I was then whispered by Elby that this situation was mine to resolve as the social officer. There it is. Well, looks like our social officer has work to do. Looks like our social officer's got a job. I tried mediating the situation, but nothing much ended up getting resolved during that officer meeting. Though Ritterstern was adamant in his decision that next time he, the raid leader, asks for a fucking buff to be reallocated, it better damn well happen, and if not, they would be welcome to leave as they're not being team players. They did not end up fucking off elsewhere. After all, Tomb of Sargeras was right around the corner, and our ahead of the curve raid team had done pretty well for itself, getting 3, almost 4 bosses down in Mythic before Tomb released. Despite a little bit of drama, it has to be said that both Vix and Kroko were actually really good players, and generally friendly with everyone in the guild, and I personally considered them my friends. They fit in well, and despite the obvious disagreement here and there, they were a great asset to the guild and the raid team. Kroko even ended up taking over as raid leader for a while Ritterstern had something come up in real life. One thing we did notice is that when Kroko moved to raid leader, Wisdom went back to his girlfriend. My house, bitch! My rules! I'm here now! Fuck you! I'm here now! That buff's going right back where it belongs! Yeah! Kroko definitely lacked the warmth that Ritterstern would exude when he led our raids, and we had a couple of instances where he would lose patience when raiders made mistakes, which wasn't exactly what we were about as a casual, friendly, relaxed guild. Allowing for mistakes and making room for growth was part of our philosophy, and Kroko as a raid leader didn't seem to align with that sentiment. Getting snarky or straight up annoyed with some of our raiders who were in the lower end of the skill spectrum on occasion. Nevertheless, Kroko ended up guiding us through most of Tomb and things were pretty good. Alas though, of course, this is drama time. And the good times cannot last, can they, my friends? Unfortunately, things between the guild and mine, Kroko and Vix ended up reaching a boiling point. Somewhere during Tomb of Sargeras' progression. Elby, as a Holy Paladin healer and a guild master, was in charge of raid healing cooldowns. Jesus fucking Christ. He often peered over the logs after a night of progression to analyse what went wrong and look what could have been done better and where the healing team can be as strong as it can be. And Grandmaster Elby noticed something. He began harbouring a little suspicion. He noticed something about Vix healing that would end up blowing up way out of proportion. Do you remember when Kroko accused General Lucifer of dying a lot? It turns out that Elby noticed something peculiar about Vix healing. And after researching the logs, he came to the conclusion that Vix was absolutely, deliberately excluding Lucifer from any heals. Of course, she couldn't ensure that Lucifer wouldn't get any healing from her AoE stuff, but Elby noticed that not one single targeted heal had ever being cast on Lucifer by Vix, while the rest of the raid team had plenty of them. I admit, do you know how hard it is to not heal somebody in a raid? It's really hard. Like, I don't know how these determined malicious bastards do it, because it's really fucking hard to not heal a specific person in a raid. When that frame is getting low, I mean, has anybody who's actually a healer tried? It's really fucking hard. It really is. It requires a lot of focus. You have to specifically like know where their frame is and like ignore it in particular. It's really fucking awkward, especially when they're doing a difficult encounter. It's not easy at all. I admit to you all though, as you well know, that Tomb of Sargeras being my second raid tier of ever raiding, I had no idea how to read logs, other than knowing to look for the often blue or purple number next to my name in the parsers. Anything more than that was like fucking gobbledygook. But I knew Grandmaster Elby wouldn't lie about this, so I took his accusations extremely seriously, and Elby was fucking pissed. This wasn't the first nor the second time there had been issues with the lovely priest-paladin couple, and Ritterstern and Elby were of a mind to just kick them from the guild at this point. But it was decided that as we are a casual, friendly, relaxed guild, then we owed it to them to at least have a chat and give them a chance to explain themselves and maybe get a resolution. You owe these people who've been slowing your progression for months now. You owe them. Okay. Sure. Despite the accusations, Vix was a great healer, often topping the healing meters, and Kroko was always near the top of DPS, if not at the very top. They were valuable to the guild and the raid team, and more than that, they were our friends. Or at least I consider them friends. Once more, we got into an officer voice call with the involved parties. Ritterstern and Elby on one side, Vix and Kroko on the other, and the whisper came again that as the social officer, it was my job to mediate. Accusations were made. Now, this would have been so much easier if Vix had admitted that she was indeed refusing to heal Lucifer. Perhaps apologies could have been exchanged and we could have moved on from this. But Vix denied any and every accusation made. The discussion became heated when Elby proved it to her via logs, and she still denied it. Don't look up. Easy. Just don't look up. Can't get COVID if you don't test. Top shelf. Top shelf. It's all smart. Just don't look up. Just don't do it. It's really easy. It's all good. And I ended up taking Vix into a one-on-one voice call, just so as I, as the neutral party social officer, could have an unbiased, objective chat with her. I'll be honest, as I still didn't really understand logs, I wasn't sure about whether or not she was guilty or not. But I thought maybe she would feel more free to speak her mind if she was just talking to me instead of the two angry guildmasters. I really concerned myself with what to say. But I thought this. I told her something along the lines of, I hate to ask, but I have to ask as the social officer in order to resolve disputes. For the sake of getting to the bottom of this and the whole team coming to a unified resolution, I ask you point blank, Vix, is it true that you were excluding General Lucifer from heals? And if so, are you trying to sabotage the guild? No. I didn't really know where to go from there. Well, that's all I got. That's all I have. With neither party willing to budge, we moved back into the normal voice comms. We have hit a kind of dead end. Raystead and LB were sure that there was sabotage at play, and Vix and Kroko both ardently denied any and all accusations. LB asked her point blank, how is it that in a total of 34 raids over the last 6 months that she has never casted a single target heal onto Lucifer? She responded, pretty sure I have. Pretty sure I have. I don't know what to tell you. Like, logs must be wrong. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's unbeatable. Rock solid alibi. Things got heated to the point where, despite claiming innocence, Kroko and Vix felt that they could no longer stay in the guild because they were being persecuted endlessly. Oh no, persecuted, and ended up leaving of their own accord. I do remember, though, Preacher being sad to see them go, but I suppose there was no other way around it. To this day, I still don't know if what LB found out was accurate and true, whether Vix was lying about not healing because of some rivalry, but that perhaps stemmed from the time they thought over that blessing of wisdom, or perhaps LB had misread the logs or stumbled upon a false correlation, and falsely accused Vix of something she hadn't been doing, implying she was being pretty petty and vengeful. It's not that hard to find out. You click the single target spells and see who was healed, and then you just put them side by side. I'm pretty sure LB was pretty accurate with it. It's really not hard to find out. It's not. We can send Nups in if you want. Nups loves logs. Fucking nothing gets his dick harder than some logs. If you want to send Nups the logs, he's all over it. He's your man. He's your man. Fucking loves logs, live logs, all that kind of shit. Nups will be there all day. He'll find out the truth. He'll crack the code. Detective Nups on the case. He loves... Shit, don't lie. Nups loves some fucking logs. You got to get it done. I would personally like to believe the latter, because I like to believe the good in people. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Even though if you told me 3 years ago, this benefit of the doubt thing has to go. They were all my good guild friends after all. Yeah. Boyfriend-girlfriend combo? Not trusting it. But alas, with Vix and Kroko leaving the guild, that was the end of that drama as well. I guess we'll never know the truth about that situation, but feel free to let me know what the judge and jury think. Guilty. She totally fucked that girl over. To wrap up this tale of one of the most fun periods of time I ever had in WoW, let me tell you what happened, though, with the Sunflowers themselves. And what I personally ended up doing to change it forever. This is our final chapter. Some time passed and Rittstern and LB ended up having to step down as guild masters. Of the original 5, 0 were no longer in charge. And they decided the only person fit to fill their shoes and continue the philosophy the Sunflowers had cultivated was to pass the GM position down to me. Rittstern had some IRL issues to deal with, which meant she couldn't play the game for a while, and LB ended up pursuing a PhD, which also rendered him unable to play and devote himself to raiding and running the guild. I ended up recruiting 3 core raiders into the officer roles. Things went well for a while and we progressed Antorus Heroic at a steady pace. We got stuck on the Coven of Shavara Heroic. Which one was Coven of Shavara? I progressed the shit out of that raid. I don't know what that is. Coven of Shavara. Which one was that one? The 4 ladies. Sorry, audio listeners. I need to see a video of this because I do not remember which fight that is. Hold on. Let's all enjoy this together. Wait. If anybody can tell us who it is.
Hello and welcome to the Fat Boss Guide to Coven of Shavara on Normal and Heroic in Antorus, the Burning Throne. Yes, this is a council-style fight where you'll be fighting 3 different...
Oh! This is where I press... Starfall. And then I just build energy to press Starfall again. Doesn't it do something with frost in the corners? Yeah. You got the frost pools and shit. Okay, I remember now. Thanks, Alex and Loz. Mostly Loz. Thank you, Alex and Loz. Mostly Loz. You just press Starfall over and over and you have top DPS. It's really hard. It's really hard. I remember. Yeah, Shadow Priest. That was when Shadow Priest was really fun. Moon Kids were really fun. It was all good shit. Okay, we got stuck on Coven of Shavara Heroic for a while, but eventually we did end up getting ahead of the curve once again. However, the atmosphere had changed. The raids weren't the same as they used to be. I personally attempted to lead the guild as well as the raids in the same style as Ritterstern used to. The warmth and the charm, but a huge part of the raid team was gone and had been replaced. General Lucifer stopped raiding with us as well when Ritterstern left. So that was at least 5 people that had left from that core team. Not to mention, when you run a heroic guild that's open and welcoming to new inexperienced players, what ends up happening is that your best players get fucking annoyed and leave. Yeah, fucking right. The general message I always got when our best players would leave is they can't be arsed training new people every week and giving them loot, and especially when they cause wipes on bosses that are on farm. It is weird how people would get annoyed by that. They start looking for more challenge and better guilds, while you keep replacing them with newer raiders that need more training, new practice, and need to be re-geared. Such guilds, in my mind, almost feel like Raider Academy, where raiders get to learn and grow up, make mistakes before moving on to the real deal. This is kind of what happened to the Sunflowers in Antorus Heroic. We already had Curve, but a few people left and new people joined, and suddenly we were stuck again on Heroic Shavara. This in turn frustrated the raiders even more, speeding up the cycle of them moving on and other people. Neither me as the GM nor my officers were really that experienced in running a guild. All we knew is that we loved this guild and what it stood for, and we would do anything to keep it going. No, you got to cut that shit off, man. That's an infected limb. It's got to go. We talk in officer chat about the Nighthold times, the good old days when we had enough raiders to continue on into Mythic after we were done with Heroic. And we decided that we needed to up recruitment in order to get a roster of around 20 people so we could move on into Mythic. This would keep our best players interested in sticking around. You can't kill Heroic Shavara, so your plan is to go Mythic. Okay. Yep. That's gonna work. And the way you're gonna do that is by recruiting a bunch of new, untrained people to do it. Okay. Unfortunately, our current roster had dwindled to around 10 or 12 players. What we should have done, of course, is go on raid break until BFA. Instead, I decided this was a great time to go behind my officers' backs. Oh, no. And begin negotiations of a guild merge. I honestly believed that being able to push into Mythic sooner rather than later would be what saved our guild. Shockingly, this destroyed our guild. The GM of this other guild plus one of their officers became officers in the Sunflowers, and one of my officers ended up being demoted, resulting in a team of me as GM with 4 officers. The members of both guilds seemed to get along really well at first, but our dream and the whole point of the merger of continuing into Mythic were never realized. I didn't count how many members they were bringing with them. I just saw a guild that was in the similar position to us so they must have had enough players. It turned out their guild only had 7 active players in it. The guild merge was very frustrating for the Sunflowers as new people were coming in as leadership. And after it was done and some people stopped raiding after the merge, it turned out we had exactly 20 members. And a vast majority of them was inexperienced. What made it worse is that several of the officers believed we didn't need to recruit beyond 20. Because benching people is not what a social, raiding, friendly guild is about. I feel like not only you put a knife in your throat, but then you just started to like pull it right across just to really make sure that that head came clean off, you know? It's like, it wasn't enough that you'd really severed the arteries. Like, you really had to make sure it died. Like, really kick it to death. What ended up happening is we never, of course, had the full 20 people online to raid Mythic. So in order to prevent benching from happening, it was decided that we wouldn't open recruitment. If we were missing some people, we would pug them. I can't, I'm sorry for the dead air, but like, I can't even fathom listening to this madness and insanity on voice comms. Like, why is recruitment closed when we have 16 people in the raid? So we don't have to bench people. But they're not here. We're going to pug them. Why? What are you talking about? I'm sorry to tell you, we never even killed Mythic Garothi Worldbreaker. Moreover, the guild merge had changed the guild I had known and loved into something I barely recognized. There wasn't anything wrong with the new members, I'll be honest with you. But we were just failing to deliver on the promises of progress, and we were causing huge disruption and frustration to the members. The pressure started to get to me as well as the original officers. I blamed myself for ruining this one magical guild. My original 3 officers from when I first got passed down the GM from Ritterstern and Elby all stepped down, and eventually I had to give up the guild control to the leadership of the new people from the merged guild. I'd been adamant about them merging into our guild, preserve the guild's rich history and everything good it stood for, but alas, I felt like there was no way to return to the glory days. So I gave up, and I quit the guild and the game until BFA. The lesson learned from the Sunflowers glory days were lessons I took with me and eventually starting my own guild again during the Eternal Palace raid in Nyalotha. I made that guild in the image of the Sunflowers. I kept the backup raider rank. I preached an attitude that encouraged fun, encouraged people to play whatever spec they thought was most fun, and that everyone was welcome to raid with us as long as they could own up to mistakes and showed a willingness to improve. But this story is not about that guild. Funnily enough, though, the Sunflowers still exists as a guild to this day. The guys who took over after I left did a fucking great job keeping it going. Although it's not the same as it used to be, and I tried rejoining a while ago, but the vibe felt a lot more elitist than it used to be back in the day. I wasn't actively raiding at the time of my rejoining, and some of their raiders seemed to kind of look down on what they called, in speech marks, casuals. Constantly giving unwanted and unprompted advice, and there was a definite air of arrogance. I got tired of being treated like some idiot who didn't know how to play their class pretty quickly and left again. Elby and Ritterstern didn't seem to have that issue, however, because they ended up rejoining as regular members somewhere during the Shadowlands early Dragonflight. I've kept in contact with them after all these years, and I even told them I was writing this story before submitting it to you. He's always wanted to write a story about the Legion Unlimited Patience days. Can we also have the story about the cult? We want the cult story. We want the cult. Perhaps my story will inspire him to write his own. By the way, I still have Vix and Croco on my friend list too. Although from what I can tell, they spend most of their WoW time playing Classic nowadays. And I haven't spoken to them in years at this point. In any case, that concludes my drama story. I know it was long, but I hope it was worth it. Please don't judge me too harshly. I've learned from my mistakes, I promise. Thank you, and have an amazing weekend, everybody. Round of applause. Great story, great tale, simple characters, easy enough to follow along. It was fantastic. Thank you very, very much, my friend. You've not learned. This was ages ago, all right? It was ages ago. It's fine. It's fine. Cult bitch story. Cult bitch story. We want it. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings to the end of the stream for today. We probably won't have time to stream any Terraria over the weekend. If I do, I'll let you know, but I'm saying probably not. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do some stuff that'll cut out farming time on stream, that kind of stuff. Other than that, have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you on Monday at the latest. So I hope to see you there. Be good, guys. I'll see you later. Bye, everybody.